What's the biggest red flag you have seen on a first date? We met for drinks after work, since we both work in the same industry, and she showed up with a list of interview questions. She literally had a checklist on her phone for me to fill out. I thought she was joking at first, but the questions were extremely personal, like how many sexual partners you've had, the oldest, the youngest. Had you ever had sex with an animal? How much money you made the previous year? If you owned a house, a car, a boat, a plane, did you have a criminal history? Where do your parents live? Are they alive? Who did you vote for in the last election? All kinds of stuff like that. I even proposed that we could just use that as a conversation starter and we could work through them like that as a fun way to get to know each other. I was really trying. She tells me that she's not answering any of them because I'm trying to date her, not the other way around. I laughed out loud, thinking she was kidding, then realized she was absolutely serious. I wished her all the best in the dating world, chugged my beer, overtipped the waitress, and left. I worked in a huge government facility doing blue-collar jobs. I had a bright red muscle car and was friendly and easygoing. There was this very striking woman who worked there, maybe not my type, but I was curious. She was extremely well-built, nice face, sexy clothing, but too much makeup as I saw it. We were parked near one another, and she came over and started talking with me, particularly about my car. I asked her out. On a warm summer evening, I drove out in the sticks to pick her up. She lived in a run-down concrete block house with a couple of broken-down cars in the yard and a scary dog chained to a tree. The yard was bare of grass. I pulled up, and a shirtless guy came sauntering up, while another guy stood in the doorway smoking a cigarette. He stuck his head into my car and started talking about how cool it was, even though it wasn't a Chevy. He smelled like B.O., beer, and cigarettes. After a bit, he said, "Becky is almost ready. Come on in." When he turned to walk away, I saw pistol in his back waistband. Inside, there was a TV, a broken-down sofa, a folding chair, and a couple of cardboard box tables covered with beer and whiskey bottles and ashtrays full of butts. I stood around awkwardly, but soon Becky came out in a tight shirt and a miniskirt. Very mini. She went to stand next to her brother and told him that she'd be home later. He reached up under her skirt, right between her legs, and she giggled and pushed his hand away. As we started to pull out on the road to go into town, I started to turn left. She said frantically, "Don't go down there. We can get to town the other way. But going left is more direct." I know. But the people at the bottom of the hill hate us and might try to stop you or even shoot at us if they recognize us. We went the other way. On the way to town, we had nothing to say other than to talk about my car. She asked me to show her what the car would do in a drag race. I stopped in a long straightaway and ran it through the gears. She was impressed. After that, uncomfortable silence. I finally said something like, "This isn't going to work out, is it?" Probably not. We're pretty different from one another. I took her home, and it wasn't even fully dark yet. I went on a date with a woman who insisted we go to a cheesy dance bar. I hate dance bars. This was also our first date. Great place to get to know each other. Anyway, we walk in, get beers. She immediately, not an exaggeration, goes to the dance floor, finds the hottest woman there, and pours the beer on her head. No, she didn't know her. Like they had a bad history. They get into a physical fight, along with others, and me trying to break it up. Now, stupidly, but I didn't care, what the bouncers saw was the other girl starting a fight. She and her friends got kicked out. My date, who started the fight, and I were allowed to stay. I asked her why she did that. WTF? She said she wanted to own the dance floor. I didn't ditch her, but the date ended quickly, and I never ever talked to her again. I have several really bad first dates. First one came to my place for a first date. We had chatted on the phone all week, and I finally got out of work later on a Friday, so we said why not? Pizza and wine and relax. I had been working crazy hours and was exhausted from dating over the few months prior, so said screw it and keep it cheap and convenient for me. We continued to hit it off for a couple of hours, then after her third or fourth glass of wine, she started berating me, calling me a loser for not taking her somewhere fancy for our first date, as in angry pointing in my face and chest. Then she admitted she was 7 years older than her profile stated. Whatever. She calmed down and seemed to be normal again. We were silly, eventually moving to my bed. Then she started baby talking to me as I was going down on her, like puppy baby talk. Good boy. You're such a good little boy. I asked her to stop several times. It ruined the mood for me completely. Then I told her I'll sleep on the couch. She drank too much and she lives too far for a cab. Too bad, attractive, good career, funny, and we had a lot in common. Another one was similar. After ordering a few of the most expensive drinks, won the menu, appies, and biggest entree, decided to call me a cheap fuck because I brought up that we will be splitting the bill. Then casually mentioned she is not allowed to see her children, has only once in the past year, and that they live nearby. Another one, ridiculously attractive and very fun to talk to on the phone leading up to the first date. She broke out crying hysterically at a nice restaurant and bawled her eyes out telling me that she is borderline personality, ADHD, was beaten severely by her ex and was sex trafficked. Then she mentioned she wasn't allowed to see her children. The whole place was staring at us, and me thinking WTF did this guy do? I had to pretend to go to the washroom, pay our bill, and was nice enough about it, but pretty much walked out. I met her months later after calling to see how she was. As she was otherwise a very attractive and nice person, I thought maybe she was better put together this time. Stupid me. After coming to my home, it turns out she was living out of her car and badly needed to shower and get herself together. I invited her over. I wasn't thinking with my big brain. Within 2 hours, I had to call the police as she was accusing me of SA and stealing her wallet, which I clearly didn't need. I had to invite the police into my home to check every surface and furniture to find her wallet. They apologized to me and warned that they might have info on her, and it is not the first time she has done this. I still had to contact an attorney, file police reports, etc., and provide statements to cover my ass over this mess of a woman. If you enjoyed this video, we would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Thanks for watching. Web Narrator out.